Good morning. How you doing? It's Phil Thatch, and I am in Crandall, Georgia, and I'm trying out this Kase 85mm f1.4. It's their first autofocus lens they've ever made. They've made a few reflex lenses. This is Kase, the same company that's famous for filters, super pro, top quality filters. But this is an autofocus lens. It's an 85mm f1.4. It's a 13 bladed aperture, just really, really nice lens. It's got a clicked aperture adjustment, which I think, yeah, you can declick it. Of course, I would like it clicked, and I'm leaving it in A because I like to control aperture with my front command dial. But a friend of mine needs some photographs made because he's going to get married and he needs a engagement session. So I've come down to Crandall, Georgia to take some photographs of him and his fiance, and I'm going to try to do them all with this new Kase 85mm f1.4. All right, well, we'll get right into it. These are the shots that I made of Heather and Andy using the Kase 85mm f1.4. And this shot is stopped down just a little bit. This is an f2 shot. I'm at 1/5000th of a second. This is 72 ISO. I was shooting manual aperture, manual shutter speed, and automatic ISO. And I, as usual, controlled my exposure with exposure compensation. And this f2 shot looks really nice, even though they're not on the same plane. They're both still in focus, and the background looks wonderful. So let's take a look at the next shot. This is another shot at f2, 1/5000th of a second, and ISO 80. I'm closer to them, so the background is even more out of focus for even more pop in this shot. Here's another f2 shot. Now I've moved to the road. Now they are side lit, but in those two previous shots, they had the light directly on them. Now this is a side lit shot, still at f2, 1/5000th of a second, and ISO 125. I'm really liking the level of sharpness from the Kase 85 f1.4. Here's another f2 shot. I've stepped back a little further and it's side lit as well. Still 1/5000th of a second, f2, and ISO 125. The subject is nice and sharp, and the background is, in my opinion, the out of focus areas are really beautiful. Here's a backlit shot, still at f2. This is 1/5000th of a second and ISO 320. Had to pull the shadows quite a bit on the subject, otherwise they were completely dark. A fill flash would have been nice in this situation. Here's a shot where we can see the beautiful engagement ring, 1/5000th of a second, f2, and ISO 360. It's another backlit shot. And now we're back on the road. This is a side lit shot. I'm still at f2. This is 1/5000th of a second, f2, and ISO 140. I really like the pose on this particular shot and being able to see down the street here, down the road as it curves just a little, not much, but really cool looking shot, I thought. Still at f2 for this shot. We've got light directly on the subject now, which makes for a nice pop, but it's hard on your subject with the light right in their eye. 1/5000th f2 and ISO 64. And now I have finally opened it up wide open. This is f1.4. We've crossed the road and found a few trees that I liked. This is f1.4, 1/2000th of a second, ISO 90. Still got lots of nice sharpness, even wide open at 1.4. Here's a very backlit, wide open 1.4 shot, 1/2000th of a second. I thought the light looked beautiful coming through those golden leaves, and ISO 90 on this one. And here's another backlit shot with the light coming through the leaves, still wide open at 1.4, 1/2000th, and ISO 80. And here's the Big Dipper, 1/2000th of a second, f1.4, and ISO 100 for this one. Had a lot of fun working on these shots with them. And on this one, I cropped it to 16:7. Everything else is 4:5 or 5:4, but this one looked good in 16:7 with them walking past these three absolutely beautiful trees. 1/4000th of a second, f1.4, and ISO 90. And on this one, I laid down on the ground and got them to do this pose. This is 1/4000th of a second, wide open at 1.4, and ISO 560 with the beautiful trees and the beautiful leaves above them. Now there's a wooded lot behind them. This is another shot at 1.4, 1/2000th of a second, and ISO 125. I love the quality of the out of focus areas in this shot, and they are nice and sharp. So that's what you're looking for with a portrait lens, and this one does it just fine. On this shot, I focused on her hand and her engagement ring and let them be just completely out of focus. This is 1/2000th of a second wide open at f1.4, and my ISO landed at 110 for this. I thought it almost looks like they're painted in the background. They're so out of focus, but really cool looking shot, I thought. Now here's another side lit shot of them smooching in the road with some beautiful trees in the background that go all the way across the road. I thought that was really cool. This is 1/8000th of a second, wide open at f1.4, and this is 200 ISO. And now they're in the shade of a tree trunk for this shot with some wooded area behind them. This is 1/8000th of a second. Should have slowed my shutter speed down a little for this one. Wide open at f1.4, and my ISO crept all the way up to 1000. But the Nikon Z8 can handle 1000 ISO perfectly well, and I really like the way this shot turned out. Here's another shot with them in the shade of a tree trunk. I kind of shot this from above them just a little bit. One of my favorite shots of the day, still at 1/8000th, and really I probably should have been at 1/4000th or maybe even 1/3200th. This is f1.4 and ISO 640. Nice looking shot. And we still have excellent sharpness from this lens, and look how beautiful the background is. That's what you look for in a portrait lens, and once again the Kase 85 1.4 has delivered. This is their cat. Its name is Vero, and they were holding the cat, and the cat wasn't looking at me, and I made this little squeaking sound. I did that little sound, and the cat looked right at me, and I bagged this shot real quick. This is another 1/8000th of a second shot, f1.4 and ISO 320 of Vero the cat. I also used animal eye detect autofocus for that. Look how sharp that kitty is in this picture. Just amazing sharpness there in the center of the frame, which is where you want the perfect sharpness on a portrait lens. And here's one last photo of Heather and Andy there in their front yard with the beautiful background, 1/8000th of a second, f1.4 and ISO 560. So I didn't do any sharpness tests and bars and graphs and any of that kind of stuff. I just took the lens out and shot it for the purpose that it was designed. An 85mm 1.4 is almost always going to be a portrait lens. And I said, you know what, let's see if this lens can do a professional portrait shoot. And I believe the answer to that question is a resounding yes. Look how nice these photos turned out with the Kase 85 f1.4. I have enjoyed reviewing this lens, and I appreciate Kase Optics for sending me a review sample to test. You can spend a lot more money for a fast 85mm lens for the Z system, but if you have a smaller budget than the $2,000 and $3,000 lenses you could get instead of this, you'll find that with this lens you can still do an excellent portrait shoot for sure. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye-bye.